Buongiorno and benvenuti to TortellinoTime. The other day I cooked some broad beans, a very simple recipe with pasta and ricotta, and during the video I introduced you to some vegetables which I brought back from Sicily. I've got here a couple of eggplants and a very large pepper, and I promised during the video that I will be doing 3 different dishes with these vegetables. So I'll be making a lasagna, an eggplant lasagna. The bigger one, I will reserve it for a little Parmigiana idea I have, and I will be stuffing this. So today's recipe is going to be about the lasagna. So I'll put this back in the fridge and I'll cook the smaller of the two, which is still very, very big. Today's lasagna is going to be considerably different to any other lasagnas you might have seen on my channel or indeed other YouTube channels. It's going to be an eggplant Bolognese Ragù lasagna, and I'm starting by slicing 3 rashers of smoked bacon. And I'm now pouring a little olive oil, not a lot as the bacon is quite fatty anyway, in a relatively large saucepan, followed by the bacon. Temperature is medium-high and I'll mix it together until it becomes beautiful and brown. In the meantime, I'll clean the vegetables for my soffritto, which will be made of a carrot, an onion and some celery. I generally cook with red onions as they're a little bit sweeter and they are my preference, but today I'm using a white one. I'll explain why in a moment. I'm now chopping my vegetables and I'm starting with the celery. I always leave the onions for last as it makes me cry and it makes a mess. But you will have noticed that the celery I'm also leaving the leaves. There is absolutely nothing wrong with them. But do ensure that you chop all of your vegetables really, really fine. This is a feature of the Bolognese sauce. And with the carrot I chopped it in half and then I'll half it again, and likewise I'll do very, very little pieces. And if you want to make them even smaller, just go back on yourself and chop them further. Of course you can use the food processor to do this, but I always think this only takes a couple of minutes, something else to wash, so why bother? This is much more fun as well. So the bacon is beautiful and crispy and good enough to eat, so I can add all of my soffritto next. Followed by a little pinch of salt, so I don't forget, and also a fairly generous amount of pepper. And I mix this all together and I will leave it now to sizzle and cook gently for about 10 minutes until all of the vegetables have softened up. In the meantime, I'll tell you why I'm using a white onion today instead of a red one. There is a little story. I learned this recipe when I was serving my compulsory year in the Navy, the Italian Navy. No longer compulsory nowadays, but it was when I was a young lad. So I was in my very, very early 20s. And I was posted in northern Italy in a little place called Chiavari near the seaside, not far from Genoa. And I was a radio operator. It was election time and you are a soldier when you're in the Navy, and as such one of your duties if there's an election is to guard the poll station. So I was posted into this tiny little village up in the mountains. I don't know, maybe 400-500 people live there, if not less. And I was guarding the school because that's what they do in Italy. It takes the election took place over 3 days across a weekend. And in the evening, I was taken to this restaurant. Actually, it wasn't a restaurant. It was like a little trattoria, tiny little place. If held 20 people, was full, to give you an idea. And it was absolutely beautiful, very rustic, made of wood, and I was so impressed by the warmth of the people as well. It was beautiful, but it's one of those places where you eat what you are given, and what I mean by that is there isn't a menu. You eat whatever the chef has cooked on the day, so you don't have a choice really. And at the time this eggplant lasagna came out with the Bolognese Ragù, and it was so delicious. I was so amazed, and I asked if I could see the chef. And this gentleman called Enrico, I still remember his name, very little man, not very tall at all actually, and he must have been in his late 60s. He was absolutely over the moon that I was inquiring about his recipe. He was from Bologna, and he said to me that it's a recipe that he had learned from his grandmother in Bologna many years prior to that. And you might think that Bolognese Ragù is a standard recipe. If you were to go to Bologna, you will find that there are thousands of them and they change from one street to the next. So actually there isn't a standard recipe. So this is something which his grandmother had adapted. That's why I used bacon because, or I should say, yeah, bacon is bacon, what do we use? Or you used actually pancetta, but you can use bacon, of course. And the white onion is what he recommended I used. So do not use red onion because it's too sweet, and you need the bitterness from the white onion. And also another recommendation he made, and you will see that in a little while, is to use red wine, good quality red wine. But you can also use white wine if you like. That was his thing. So I'm actually adopting today Enrico's recipe 100%. You can see the big difference the bacon is making already. It's looking nice and shiny, and all of the vegetables are now softened up. And I will be adding some mince. Now this is a combination of pork and beef, 50-50, and I'm putting in half a kilo. But if you were to speak to anybody from Bologna, they'll tell you that the combination of beef and pork mince is absolutely a must in any good Bolognese. And as Bolognese has become very popular here in the UK, you can now buy pork and beef mince combined. But if where you are you're not able to, just buy them separately and combine them yourself. The temperature at the moment is on a medium high. Mine is set at the moment on number 6 out of 9 if you've got an electric one like mine. The reason why that is because I want the mince to be completely brown, but also I want as much as possible of the water content to evaporate. I mentioned that I would be using good wine today, and this is something called Nero Oro. It's a Nero d'Avola from Sicily, and actually it's 14 degrees. I do try and bring some wine whenever I can, and this is my little treat today. And I'll go ahead and I will add about half a glass. As I said before, you can also use dry white wine. So I'm going to turn the temperature up on high now, and I will let the alcohol from the wine to evaporate before I can add my sauce. So the smell of alcohol has all gone, and in line with Enrico's recommendations, I'm going to start with a heaped dessertspoon of tomato puree, immediately followed by 500 milliliters of tomato passata, and a 400 gram tin of chopped tomatoes. Another key ingredient is going to be 200 milliliters of water, as this will cook for a long time. But what I've done, I've put the water inside my tomato passata, then I'm going to transfer it inside the tin, and I'll give it a good mix, and I'll pour it in. And like this, there's no waste. And I'll combine everything together, and I'll wait until my beautiful ragu reaches boiling point. And there it is, it's beginning to boil and it's looking quite good already, so I'll place the lid on and I'll turn the temperature down on medium-low, number 4 out of 5 in my case. If you've got a gas off, turn it on the very, very lowest setting. And leave it now for a couple of hours. I'll come back and I'll check it in 1 hour and I'll show you. Do not rush it. If you're making a proper Bolognese ragu, you need to cook long and slow. Some people in Bologna cook it for 4, 5, 6 hours, and 2 hours is enough in our case, also because I will be doing the lasagna and I will be finished cooking it in the oven anyway. Also, I'm not just making enough for the lasagna, I'm doing a big batch and I'll freeze the remainder, and I might have it later in the week or next week with some tagliatelle. It's Bolognese ragu, you can use it whichever way you like, it's very versatile. So in the meantime though, I'm going to get the eggplants ready. And here is my eggplant, or aubergine as they're called in the UK, or of course melanzana as they're called in Italian. So I just remove the little end bit, as this is no good, and I'll start slicing them in 1 centimeter thick. Of course, you do not have to go to Sicily and find a truck parked on the side of the road and buy your eggplant from Sicily. You can buy any eggplant from any supermarket or any store where they sell vegetables, and any shape will be fine. Of course, this is my preference, as this is so beautiful, and the moment I saw it, this dish came to mind. So again, as I said, 1 centimeter slice. I'm now applying a little olive oil at the base of a frying pan using a brush, and I'll start cooking my eggplants. This is the only area where I'm deviating slightly from Enrico's instructions, as in Italy, and especially in the Mediterranean side of Italy, they cook aubergines with so much oil, but I want to keep this recipe relatively healthy, so I'm only applying a little. The only drawback of such a beautiful big eggplant is that all I can manage is just 3 slices, but that is no problem. I put the lid on and that will accelerate the cooking process, and within 4 or 5 minutes I can turn them around. Eggplants cannot be trusted, and avoid the temptation of adding more oil. The more oil you will add, the more oil they will soak up, and then they'll give it back to you at the end. Like this, they cook in their own steam, they will taste absolutely beautiful, and they will be much healthier. Another 4 minutes and this lot will be ready. And they are ready and they are perfectly cooked. I'll show you. I've got also here a bowl with some kitchen paper to absorb any residual oil, and I'll move them in here, and I'll start with the next batch. And off I go again, and a little oil at the base, followed by my eggplant. 3 is all I can manage, and I'll follow exactly the same process as I did for the first batch until they are all cooked. And I finished cooking all of my eggplants, and here they are, looking absolutely beautiful, and I'll leave them inside this dish with some paper so that they will cool down. And by the way, if you add a little salt, a little pepper and a tiny drizzle of olive oil, perfect side dish. Or you can do a little marinade with salt and pepper, olive oil, add a little crushed garlic and parsley or basil or both, or mint, whatever you like, and mix it all together, pour it on top of your eggplant, put them in the fridge for a couple of hours to marinate, and then you are going to be elevating your side dish to a totally completely different league. Absolutely delicious. But obviously these are for my lasagna today, but try and you'll see what I mean. 1 hour on, and I said I was going to show you what my sauce looks like, and here it is. You can see that it has reduced in volume, and can you see that it has changed color? And that is a great indication. So it's doing really well. The smell is absolutely delicious. So I'll give it a gentle mix, and I'll put the lid back on, and I will leave it now for 1 more hour, and then we can start putting our lasagna together. In the meantime, I'll get some cheese ready. I did say at the beginning of this video that this was not the usual typical lasagna, and as such I will not be making a Béchamel sauce today, but I will be using 3 types of cheeses. This is a mozzarella which I'm slicing. Also I will be using some ricotta. This is purchased from the supermarket, 250 grams tub. And the third cheese inevitably is going to be some Italian Parmigiano Reggiano. I will be grating this on top of my lasagna as I build it up, and I'll show you later. You can also use pecorino if you like. It's a little bit stronger and saltier, or if you want you can also use any hard cheese as long as you can grate it. And I will be using obviously Parmigiano, as this is what Enrico recommended. And 1 further hour on, and my Ragù alla Bolognese is ready, and here it is. It looks absolutely wonderful and has thickened up considerably. That's why it's important that you add plenty of liquid at the beginning, and of course the longer you leave it the better, but obviously at some point you need to stop. But do ensure that you top it up with water if you do want to leave it for longer. This is ready. I'll turn it off, but I'll leave it on my hob while I put my lasagna together. But before I start putting the lasagna together, I'll test some to see what it's like for saltiness and everything else. It's very hot though. Well, it's absolutely perfect. It's beautiful. The addition of the bacon or pancetta, whatever you choose to add, it's a game changer. Try, honestly. Even if you don't make the lasagna, you just make a straightforward pasta. It's absolutely delicious. And if you have made lasagna before, you will be very familiar with this process, nothing different. I always start by applying a little layer of my sauce at the bottom of an oven dish, like this. This ensures that the bottom layer of my lasagna sheets will cook properly, otherwise there will be nothing underneath. And I'm using fresh pasta today, but also you can use the hard drum pasta if you like. I've got this in the fridge as I bought it just before we went away, and it needs to be used up. And as I often mention whenever I make a lasagna, do not apply a lot of sauce in the bottom layers, but do increase the quantities as you go up in layers so that the filters its way down. And if you think about it, actually this is a very simple recipe, only a few ingredients, but incredibly flavorful. So having added a couple of very large eggplant slices, I will do the first layer with some mozzarella. Then I'll go back with more sauce on top of my eggplant and mozzarella. And as I apply more sauce and ingredient, I always make sure that I tapped it down so that it is nice and compacted. And off I go, another layer of pasta next. More sauce, but this time I'm going to be a little bit more generous, as I mentioned earlier. I will be leaving the ricotta for the very end, that replaces the bechamel sauce. So I will alternate each layer between mozzarella and parmesan cheese. So this is the turn for the parmesan now. And off I go again, another layer of my beautiful eggplants. Actually here, as they're a little bit smaller, I think I can manage 3. There, perfect. A little bit more sauce, of course. And I keep saying it, but do push it down, it's really important. And as I am about to reach the top of my oven dish, I will put all of the remaining of my mozzarella next, followed by more pasta. And I'm now adding 4 little ladles of my beautiful sauce, followed by a generous amount of Parmigiana or Reggiano next. Here are my last 3 pieces of eggplant, if I can get hold of it. There it is, the last one. A few more ladles of sauce to just cover the surface of my last 3 eggplants. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll finish my lasagna top with a layer of ricotta. As usual, I was a little bit greedy with the amount of sauce and ingredients I put in my lasagna dish, and I'm not paying the price, but not a big deal, it will be fine. And this is ready to go in the oven, but before I put it in, I'd like to show you a little trick. So as I mentioned before, I made more than what I needed, so that I've got some left for later. And this will go in the freezer. But also I've got some fresh lasagna sheets left over, which needs to be used up. I could freeze as it is, but I'll go a little idea. And using a knife, I'm now cutting into little slices, and I'm making some mini tagliatelle. And it's very easy to do because this is fresh pasta. So just go along and cut it across. Obviously, mind your fingers, and very easy and very simple. My lasagna package weighs 250 grams. I've used 6 pieces and I've got 150 grams left. So they will go in a plastic bag inside the freezer, and this will also go in the freezer. So what I'll do next week, I will defrost this, and I'll get this out of the freezer and cook it from frozen about 5 minutes, and combine it, and I'll be a beautiful meal all ready for me. But of course you can use any type of pasta with the remaining sauce. I've got lasagna left over, so ideal. If I didn't have the lasagna, most probably I would either use spaghetti or rigatoni, the tubes with the little lines. Absolutely wonderful. But this is ready to go in the oven now, and it will be going in, like all my lasagna, for 35 minutes at 180 degrees. Fan assisted, mine, if you also use a conventional oven, up to 200 degrees. 20 minutes with some tin foil on top, the last 15 minutes without any tin foil, so that it browns up, and it should be absolutely beautiful. But before it goes in the oven, I nearly forgot, I need to stab it, and especially because it's fresh pasta. So go in with a knife and just make a few holes, and this will prevent the pasta from bubbling up, and it will cook nicely and even. So I'll see you in about 40 to 45 minutes. Ciao ciao for now. Over here?
Yeah.
And there it is on.
Nice. He's so lovely. Yeah, go for it.
How is that?
Yep, fabulous.
In case you're wondering, we haven't morphed into a DIY channel or LaVitaVariety. You mentioned to me that you really like the colors of my spatulas and so on. So I thought it would be a great idea to put them on display. So I've put this up, and here they go, look. I'll put this one here, I'll put this big one in the middle.
He's got it all planned, everyone.
All planned, indeed, yes. I think we said that this one can go here, this one can go here, and I'll put this one here, and the little brush can go in the middle. I've got another one, but hasn't got a hook.
Well, that isn't quite the same, is it, to be fair?
No,
so
it
that can
isn't.
just go on the stand.
I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think it's wonderful to have a little colour in the kitchen, and brings a little bit of joy. When we built this kitchen, we built it to share our cooking with you, and this is our kitchen. That is your kitchen as well. So what do you think? Do you like it? Also, when we were on holiday, we bought this little plaque, which I just put up. And Julie and I went to a charity shop. It's one of Julie's favourite outings whenever we do go out. And she spotted this
Oh,
plate.
look what I found.
Look what she
Look
found.
what I found.
And we paid, I think it was £3.
£3. Can you see?
And
It's
actually,
beautiful.
I made something with that. What did I? Oh yes, I think I did the Easter egg.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff. What's it called? The campanari. I think the campanari were in there.
I thought it was quite fitting
It
for
is,
a
yes.
kitchen, yeah.
So that's
To be honest, everybody, if we didn't have this room out here, I would have probably had it in my kitchen, but there we are.
most probably, yes. So, what do you think? Do you like it? I love it. I absolutely love these. They are my favorite. So lasagna is nearly ready. Going back to our cooking, I'll go and get it next, and then I'll let it rest, and we can take a look. And of course, I do have a DIY or variety channel called LaVitaVariety, where we do make lots of videos about fixing things, but also gardening and so on. And if you haven't seen it, have a look up here, and you might like it. See you in a little while. And here it is. I've left it to rest for a good 15 minutes, and you'll have noticed that I have placed it inside an oven tray, as otherwise my oven would have been a car crash. So if, like me, you were too greedy, try and put it inside something so that it doesn't spill everywhere. So I'm now dislodging it from the oven dish, and I'm gonna be cutting a portion and see what it looks like. And I'm trying to be very brave and see if I can actually lift half altogether, but I need two spatulas. So I'll go on here and oh, look, this is handy now. Spatula number 2. I'm going in vertically with both spatulas so that I'll try and retain it in its beautiful shape, and gently go underneath. And if Julie now lifts the plate so that I can try and move it in. There. Well, it's working, Julie.
Ooh, my goodness, it weighs a ton.
Okay. And in the spirit of democracy, I'll taste some, but also Julie will taste some. So there you go, Julie. I'll pass you this fork. Can you get hold of it?
Oh my goodness, I'll be a bit candid because it's my left hand.
And I'll go for this one here.
Oh yeah, lovely.
Oh God. It's lovely, isn't it?
It's lovely.
You can definitely taste that it's a Bolognese Ragù, and the ricotta instead of the Béchamel sauce really be delicious. It's a classic Bolognese Lasagna Ragù, but I think Enrico did add a few little tricks from his Nonna. Delicious. Try and let me know what you think. I'm not joking, it's absolutely divine. Thank you for watching, and grazie Enrico, and I hope you enjoyed the video and our new spatulas. Ciao ciao, arrivederci e grazie. Buon appetito.